Hello and welcome to Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Bridge, live from our studios here in Accra. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 121 around the 125 around the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up, the NDC members of Parliament warned they will not support any government business that will impact the next government.
Should allow the next government to make that determination, but anything that will seek to benefit all of us, and all of us agree to, we will support that.
We'll also take you to the EC, where the supporters of the NDC in the Weija-Gbawe constituency mass up at the regional head office of the Electoral Commission to demand that their parliamentary candidate be declared winner of the 2024 elections. Also in the ahead, President-elect John Dramani Mahama calls for the investigation of illegal ballot papers which were in possession of some people during the elections. Let's start off from Parliament. As Parliament reconvenes after a long break because of the election, the minority in Parliament is warning the government that they will not be on hand to support any government business that will impact negatively the next government. You remember that in the December 7 elections, the NDC won majority in the House, and also former President John Dramani Mahama was elected president. As such, members of the NDC in Parliament are warning the MPP government they will not be ready to support it, to execute any business that will put next government in jeopardy. The leader, Dr. Lamptey, served the warning earlier when he was speaking to journalists in the House. There's more from our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Ashanti.
With Parliament having resumed, there is now major controversy on the number of business or the key business that the government side is seeking to push through. Tax waivers, loans, and other businesses are the risk of suffering, with the NDC minority serving notice it will not allow those businesses to go through because they insist those businesses must be put on hold for the future John Dramani Mahama government to come and look at it.
This is a transition. We should allow the next government to make that determination. But anything that will seek to benefit all of us, and all of us agree to, we will support that, like bills, lawmaking. But those loan agreements and the likes of, leases and all, must wait for the next government to make that determination.
Dr. Lamptey brought this issue back on the floor, alleging again government plan to buy some ships for Ghana's Navy at a cost of 140 million euros, something they describe as unacceptable.
Before us, they are proposing to buy ships worth 140 million euros at this time. Mr. Speaker, it is very wrong for a government that is leaving office in 3 weeks, to commit 140 million euros.
Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, MP for North Tongue, has also been reiterating his side stance on some of these businesses that the MPP side want to push through, saying that it is completely unacceptable.
A total list over 40 tax waivers, Mr. Speaker, and this will have serious fiscal implications for the next government. I mean, why do you want to saddle the next government with these huge revenue losses when you have been roundly rejected at the polls?
But the 2024 running mates for the NPP, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, says these government business must go through, or no business should be done with the exception of the budget.
Mr. Speaker, I also don't believe that we are going to sit here and pick and choose. If we are not going to, and we are left with only 1 or 2 items, let's do those 1 or 2 items and leave the incoming government with a free hand to operate as they want. But what has been agreed, vote on expenditure for the first quarter of next year and other matters that we all agree to. Let's do that, and we can rise in 2-3 days.
Majority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin has been appealing to his NDC colleagues to come to the table on some of these businesses.
For me, if members have new issues to deal with, we can deal with them. But let us adopt the report without any condition. And then we can take other matters up. That's what I want to suggest to the House.
Ultimately, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, has issued some directives on them. Some of the businesses, he says, he will allow for them to be transacted. For some, he says, those must be left to the incoming government, while he says for some, it is simply not attainable because of the time frame that the 8th Parliament has before it expires. In the next 1 week, Parliament is going to sit on all these key businesses. It is left to be seen if the NPP side will press to get these businesses done or will wait for the next government to take them over. But the NDC are preparing to take over in the next Parliament as the majority with more than 2/3, and they say that this victory signals that the Ghanaian people simply have little tolerance for bad governance. Reporting for Joy News, Kweku Asante, Parliament House, Accra.
Let's do some from the elections now, because the supporters of the National Democratic Congress in the Weija-Gbawe constituency massed up at the regional head office of the Electoral Commission today, demanding that their candidate be declared winner. They pelted stones and burnt fires to protest the victory of the NPP's candidate in the area. They are warning that they will return to the Electoral Commission office to demand that the right things be done. James Kwesiaveji was there monitoring the process and has details of that in the following report.
Let's start from here, where supporters have been pelting stones around. You see stones on the ground, and this is where all of the chaos have been happening. What we've been told is they were at the roadside, the main roadside of the EC headquarters, and they've been throwing all of these items towards the Electoral Commission headquarters, where the police have been maintaining some level of order and security. You see on the ground there wires from burnt car tires, which the supporters who are cladded in party colors of the National Democratic Congress have been engaged in the chaos here this afternoon. More of those burnt car tires you see on the grounds there, where the police have managed to, sweep most of them off a greater part of the road with their water cannon to the other side of the road. Just some few minutes earlier, we saw some scrap dealers also making business of the situation. They've been here gathering the, wire remains of the car tires.
They believe that this is their votes have not been properly dealt with because the infractions are too many. And so they have written a whole petition after 4 hours talking with the regional director of the Electoral Commission. The Electoral Commission has agreed that this morning they will give us a response. At 10 o'clock, unfortunately, we came here at 10 o'clock, and this is the result.
When did you submit the petition?
We submitted a petition on Friday evening at 8 p.m. as agreed with her.
Did you walk out before the process ended?
I walked out at a point because there are issues with some of the pink sheets. We have pink sheets that has no designation. You don't have any polling station assigned to it. You don't know the presiding officer that signed that pink sheet. No name of any presiding officer. And at the collation, we are supposed to agree on all these things before collation starts. And Madam Abigail, knowing very well what he has connived with the NPP and they are about to do, walked out of the collation room and told us, the NDCs, that if we agreed on something, we should come back.
The supporters there agreeing that they are retreating back home.
They are going home peacefully. They are going home peacefully. We have talked to them. They have understanding. They are going home peacefully. But Wednesday, we are coming.
Yeah. All right. So those are some of the supporters there who have agreed that they are going back home and will come back Wednesday to demand what they feel is right for them, that their candidate in the parliamentary election is declared winner of the Weija-Gbawe constituency. And so that's been generally the situation here at the Electoral Commission's regional office here in Accra.
Well, still on the elections, the governing New Patriotic Party has been accusing, or they are piling pressure on the Electoral Commission to begin the continue collation of results and the recollation of some results in disputed areas. Now, some of these areas where results have been declared and it favors the National Democratic Congress, the NPP, is saying their pink sheet and their own collation shows that their candidates are the ones that won this election. Now, they have been saying that the NDC deployed hoodlums to the coalition centers to disrupt the processes at these coalition centers, and that they will do everything they can to ensure that the right things have done for their candidate to be declared winners. Listen to leading member of the party, Peter McMahon, addressing the press earlier today.
Electoral materials, particularly pink sheets, computers, and ballot papers, as well as properties of the TEPA SHS, including louver blades, benches, and tables. They also manhandled MPP representatives and EC officials. These violent conducts by the NDC tax, who had overpowered the police, prompted the intervention of the military to save lives and property. The NDC hoodlums did not only attack the collation center, but they also proceeded to launch an attack at the residence of the MPP parliamentary candidate, Honorable Eric Nana Ajimai Prempe, bent his vehicle and attacked his warehouse, stole his items, and attacked his radio station. There are video footages in wide circulations that captured all these attacks. These issues have since been reported to the Ghana police, and an arrest warrant has been issued. The videos are there, and we will give you copies of it. The question many will ask is, since when has it become an offense to contest a parliamentary elections in this country? Why is the NDC bent on thwarting all our democratic gains? Ghana has made a lot of gains. Instead of consolidating it, they are thwarting it. They are throwing it away. Let's go to the sixth one, Obuasi East. That's also in Ashanti. After collating the polling stations results from all the 115 polling stations, the MPP parliamentary candidate obtained 18,558 votes, as against NDC's 18,539. Strangely, the returning officer, the police, and the MPP candidate, at the threat of their lives, succumbed to the unlawful demands of the NDC hoodlums, who had besieged the collation center and took charge of the constituency collation process to swap the election results. And we have that. Is that ready to show them? They swapped the results that I have mentioned and then announced that. Okay, they gave them APP's candidates to that of the NDC. The Obuasi is they just cancelled.
They just cancelled.
They cancelled the first one, which we have the data and reverse and I mean, what is this? They swapped the results in favor of the NDC
and then locked the candidate and asked him to sign or he dies. Or he prefers dying or going to parliament. So he should sign.
Number 7, Ahafo Southwest, also in Ashanti. Results from all the 103 polling stations indicate that the MPP's candidate, Elvis Osei Mensah Dapa, obtained 16,058 votes, as against NDC's candidate, who polled 15,372 votes. As usual, the NDC hoodlums attacked the collation center and in the process killed one of our supporters. We have all our pink sheets intact, and that shows clearly that the MPP parliamentary candidate won the parliamentary elections by 686 votes margin. 686 votes margin. The EC invited the parties to its regional collation center on Monday, 9 December 2024 at 10 a.m. The EC collated all the results from all the 103 polling stations, filled the Form 1C as well as the Form 1D. But due to threat on his life, he opted not to declare the final results. So this is the situation at Ahafo Southwest. Now we go to Bono East, number 8, Techima South constituency. Collation from 279 out of a total of 282 polling stations indicate clear that Honorable Martin Kwaku Ajayi Mensah Kosa, the MPP parliamentary candidate, obtained 46,468 votes as against NDC's Christopher Bayari, who polled for the 3,365 votes. Two other candidates in the parliamentary elections obtained 225 votes. The constituency collation was disrupted by NDC elements and has since not resumed. All right. The next one is Eastern Region and Sawam Adwaji. Data from all the 202 polling stations show that the incumbent MP, Honorable Anodompre, has won the parliamentary elections. The EC's collation at the Constituency Collation Center was disrupted by the NDC.
Our Deputy Electoral Commission Chairperson, Dr. Bosman Asare, says a lot of the, these declarations in a lot of the constituencies that are being disputed are not recognized by the Electoral Commission because they were declared without a full complement of the results. He added that at some of the centers, their officers were asked to declare and, were forced to declare the results at knife point, while in the Tema Central constituency, for example, he says, another officer other than the returning officer was made to do the declaration.
I think I made an earlier point that the Electoral Commission as an institution doesn't care who wins presidential, who wins parliamentary. That's not part of our mandate. Our mandate is to ensure that the processes leading to the election of the president, the processes leading to the election of our parliamentarians, they follow what have been specified in law. So for the Electoral Commission, we have sworn an oath to do that. So what we are basically saying is that so far out of the 12 which the Commissioner said we'll be looking at, that means 12 from the 276, that's 264 or so. All of them, we've never had any complaints. But for this particular one, I think something, I don't know if you saw in one of the footages, I don't know if it's either Ablekuma North or even Okankwe Central. You saw members of a particular party holding the return officer say this, say that, and what the commission is saying is that once those processes are not followed, that is not declaration in the work of the Electoral Commission.
Well, let's bring in Lawyer Samson Lardy Ayenini, who is a private legal practitioner, to help us understand what the law says when these instances come up. Lawyer, I'm grateful to you for joining us. What really does the law prescribe as a solution to these challenges?
So by what the NPP is saying at the press conference, if they have evidence to back the claims that they are making, then one can say that it will be easy for them to overturn those results that have been declared unlawfully on the basis of the grounds that they raised. Okay. But that has to be done before the High Court and not before the Electoral Commission. Okay. So the invitation to the Electoral Commission, to the extent that the invitation is to the Electoral Commission to do a re-policing and re-declaration, that is unlawful because the law is quite clear. CI 127, which was passed in 2020 to regulate the elections, is very clear. Okay. But for the constituencies where the collation could not be completed or did not take place at all because of the various issues of security that were mentioned, I believe that then we ought to cooperate. All the parties ought to cooperate with the Electoral Commission so that the collation will be done and completed and the declaration will be done.
Okay.
So the Electoral Commission could be able to gazette the results, because it's embarrassing that over a week now after the election, the Electoral Commission is unable to gazette the results so that we all know the full extent of what has happened. So that's what I'll say about them. The EC does not have the power to annul a declaration that has already been made, irrespective or regardless of how the declaration was made. Regardless of the fact that the declaration was made under duress, the declaration was made because some people were intimidating an officer to make it, the declaration was made by the wrong officer, they do not have the power to annul the results. The institution that has the power to annul the results, according to the Act 284, the Representation of the People's Law, it is the court. The court, as in the High Court, is the only institution with what you call the exclusive jurisdiction to pronounce on the validity of the election to Parliament. And actually, it says, among other things, that 21 days after the results have been gazetted, the aggrieved party can go to court and, among others, ask for a declaration that the process was flawed by whatever allegations that they raised, and that the person who was declared to have been the winner is not the candidate who won the election, but some other person, a candidate, won the election.
But
I think the fear. Yeah, go ahead.
At what point in time can an aggrieved party go to court? Is it before or after the results have been gazetted?
It is after the results have been gazetted.
Okay.
But there is also a circumstance which can allow a party to proceed to court. But if they are proceeding to court to question the validity of the election, that the candidate who did not win has been pronounced as the winner, then Act 284 or PNDC Law 284, which is valid law, says it has to be gazetted, and then 21 days, within 21 days after it has been gazetted, you take a petition to the High Court. The point I'm making is that the MPP is absolutely right in saying that the constituencies that have not been declared ought to be collated and declared.
Okay.
The NDC is also right in objecting to the constituencies that have already been collated, and the EC is seeking to declare those collations and declarations null and then recollate.
Okay.
That is not correct.
Okay. All right. I'm grateful to you, lawyer, for joining us here. Lawyer Samson Ladi INNE there. Now, President-elect John Mahama has stated that despite President Akufo-Addo's optimism about Ghana's economic performance, particularly the reported growth in the third quarter, the economy remains very sick. Speaking after members of the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council paid a courtesy call on him, he expressed concerns about the state of governance in the Electricity Company of Ghana, stating that ECG is suffering from commercial and technical losses amounting to some 32%, which he believes is unsustainable. The president-elect stressed the urgent need for reforms across the entire electricity value chain to ensure the sector's long-term sustainability.
A conference. Apart from that, the priority really is the economy. The economy, even though the president sounded very upbeat about the third quarter growth, from the little briefing I have, the economy is still very sick. And there are many areas that we need to work on as quickly as possible, especially the energy sector. The energy sector can derail everything that we've done with regards to the debt exchange and with regards to the IMF program, because the debts continue to pile up there. ECG's governance is in a very bad way, and so they are making commercial and technical losses of more than 32%. There's no utility company that can survive with 32% commercial and technical losses and still continue to be a viable utility. And so as quickly as possible, we need to do reforms, you know, in the whole electricity value chain in order that we have better efficiency and performance if we are to have sustainable power going forward.
Touching on the constitutional reforms, he reviewed plans by his government to revisit the work of the Constitutional Review Committee. He intends to hold a national validation conference to reassess flagged issues and implement necessary changes.
One of the early things that I think I want to do is, one, to begin again the process that was started by Professor Tamils in respect of the constitutional review. It stalled at a certain point, and for the last 8 years, we haven't moved it anywhere. I think that the time has come for us to look at our constitution again. It has served us well, and I still believe it's one of the best constitutions any African country can have. But after using it for several years, we realized that there are a few parts that we need to tweak so that it can serve us for even further generations to come. And so one of the things that I intend to do is to hold a national validation conference where we would bring all stakeholders in a form of consultative assembly. The legal people will know how to phrase it so that we can move it forward. Now what we want to do is to bring the Constitutional Review report back to this validation conference. There might be things that we flagged that we wanted to amend that might not be necessary again this time. And then by the new things that we didn't really take notice of, that will become important for us to include in the review.
Well, this is Joy News Prime. We'll take a break here. I'll be back with more. Please do stay. Welcome back from the break. Now, 2 young men have been confirmed dead. One resident of Yenahin Kosote in the Ashanti region clashed with a group of heavily built men who allegedly stormed the town to commit crime. The deceased and 5 other injured victims of the community were hit with gunshot. Now, according to eyewitnesses, the armed men arrived in the Echimamponia district Monday morning and began stealing excavator parts and gold deposits. The activities took a deadly turn as some youth in the town attempted to resist the operations. Now, 2 persons were killed in the chaos and 5 others are in critical condition. The incident has sparked widespread tension in the town, with the youth and local authorities taking to the streets in protest. Nana Boachi-Yadom joins with details. Nana, grateful for joining. Do we know exactly what led to the tension in the community?
Well, as I speak to you, we do not really know what led to the tension in the community. But the little details that we've gathered from the local assembly and the authorities in there is that there were some heavily built men, just as we said earlier, who came in, describing themselves to be innocent men. And when they went into the community, they started stealing some excavators from some Galamsey sites in the area. When the barge came, they did not just take away the excavators, they went to gold deposits that they've been able to make throughout the week. And they were forced by community members trying to resist them from having access to the area that they are operating. This led to widespread tension in the area, leading to this heavily built men shooting at them with 2 people or 2 individuals confirmed dead and 5 others in critical condition as I speak.
Was it a Galamsey site or a legally registered small-scale mining site? Now, I wanted to find out from you whether the site that they are tagged is a legally registered small-scale mining site or a galamsey site.
Well, from the details that we have gathered from the assemblyman in the area, we have been told that it is a galamsey site, and in this site, an armed robbery attempt. This led the independent from the individuals who were mining at that site. And the fact that they came in as soldiers or military men is what led to the disturbances and asking questions as to why military men would come in to ask them to give out their gold deposits, and in resistance, they made some gunshots.
All right, and I'm grateful to you for those updates coming in from the Ashanti region. Now, head of Emergency Medicine Directorate at the Konfo Teaching Hospital, Dr. Chris Opong, has expressed worry over the high rate of young, experienced nurses leaving the facility. He says quality service delivery is adversely impacted when the experienced health professionals abandon posts for greener pastures outside the country. There is more in the following report. Read to you. Apologies, we'll bring that story back to you in our subsequent bulletins. Now, this evening, we're telling you the stories of, or you regret, the story of two drug addicts, young people on the street of Accra seeking to escape the shackles, but the ghost of the drug they use continue to haunt them. The first taste of narcotic drugs was influenced by their peers. They lost their dignity and family, but they continue to be haunted by the ghost of the substances they abused. The addict, Emmanuel Saki and Simon Mensah, are both seeking means of escape from these shackles. And fortunately for them, they've had an organization that is helping to rebuild themselves and retell their stories in a way that will serve as a mark for other young people not to fall the line or fall in the path where they have. Join us with Jennifer August. Listen to the tales of the ordeal and our reports.
From the depths of despair, Emmanuel Saki was once lost to the streets, consumed by drug addiction. As a child on the street, he quickly turned to drugs to save him from his nightmares.
I did not get any support. That is how I ended up on the streets. I have really taken in bad drugs.
He found his means of escape during an advocacy campaign, Cherish a Child Foundation, that was opening its doors to rescue drug addicts. For him, this was the dawn of his new beginning.
Program, first one. I was still in it when a madam was advocating that drugs are not good and that those who want to stop should come and she would help them. That was how I heard about it. Truly, those who came were many, but they couldn't go through it. By the grace of God, I have stopped the tramadol. She kept me as an auto electrician.
Emmanuel is not alone. Simon Mensah, another drug addict, walked a similar path.
I accompanied a friend to where the drugs are sold, and he bought some for me. I have been attending church here since last week. Madam advised me to stop taking in those bad drugs, and that we will go for camp, of which I agreed. What I have learnt is that taking in those drugs do not do any good, and that you'll steal if you do not have the resources to purchase the drugs.
In cities across the country, there are children who, through no fault of their own, end up on the streets, vulnerable, lost, and often caught in the grip of addiction. But today, Emmanuel and Simon are thriving, having beaten the odds and overcome the demons that once haunted them. Eunice Donko is a nurse specialist at Pantine. She reveals substance abuse by young people is on the rise.
It is a very great canker. Substance use, and even the most painful thing is that it's now children. It's now 14, 13, 11 years. There are some as low as 9 years.
The journey begins with education, rehabilitation, and empowerment. each child is given the tools to leave their addictions behind and build a better life. Salome Delali is the executive director and founder of Cherish a Child Foundation.
And we are here to reform street-connected children, vulnerable ladies that are being sexually exploited.
Drug addiction is a treatable condition. With the right treatment and support, individuals can overcome addiction and live healthy, productive lives. Jennifer August report for Joy News.
Well, this is still the Joy News.